Free mind, you crazy for this. Soulful. It's like our responsibility to make us feel something. You know, to make people feel what we feeling. Hey, yo.
Reggie here, and I want to welcome you to another one of my live streams. This is Comics Today, a show that we do on Wednesday to celebrate the best day of the week, that being New Comic Book Day. And my hope is that everyone out there was able to make it to their LCS if that was your objective. And when you arrive, my hope is that you actually found books at your LCS, because the struggle is real for a lot of people. So nothing but best wishes to everyone that is out there. I will tell you that we have a jam-packed show, and I've been looking forward to doing this show for quite some time. We have a full agenda of things that we're going to try to work our way through. But before we get to any of our guests, I have a few housekeeping items that I have to address. What I will also tell you all is I'm going to tell you what's on that wall back there, because it seems like a lot of people are very interested in the books that are on the wall. And so I'm going to talk about those in just a second. And so bear with me as I do that. But a few housekeeping items that we are going to get to. And as a reminder, this show that you're watching right now, if you're in the live stream, Comics Today will be rebroadcast on your favorite podcasting platform. All you have to do is to search for Regie Collects, and you will be able to take some Regie on the go. Some of the platforms out there have over 100 episodes that are available to you, and this one will be rebroadcast this coming Monday at 10 a.m. Shout out to my brother for hooking me up and doing the work to get these podcasts up and available for folks that are out there. And shout out to all the folks that continue to listen to the content. So let's get to one of the housekeeping items. The winner of the Shortboxed giveaway for this month has been chosen. There was a video that dropped on the 18th called Stop Overpaying $100 Credit from my friends over at Shortboxed. And so the winner of that $100 credit is not it. I almost showed something way too soon. So the winner is Boris. Boris is the winner. He made a comment here about the not overpaying and some of the things that he attempts to do in order to keep himself focused. So shout out to Boris. Boris, fingers crossed that you are actually in the US, because this is something that is only available to folks that are in the US, because that's where the Shortboxed app is actually located. So please send me an email to reggie@regiecollects.com with your screen name, your government name, and I will send that off to the folks over at Shortboxed to get that $100 credit back for you. And Boris, if you are not in the US, let me know that as well, because I've picked a follow-up winner, a second place person that will gladly slide in if you are not here in the United States. All right. So congrats to Boris. And again, huge shout out to the folks over at Shortboxed for their continued collaboration on the various projects that we do. Alex is like, woo, brother, I came very close. I came very close to hitting the wrong button there. No doubt about it. So I don't know if we're going to go to the chat today to see what it is that you all may have picked up at your local LCSs, but I may be able to squeeze it in. We will see what happens. But again, shout out to Boris for winning that $100 credit, and fingers crossed that he responds to this in a timely manner so that I can get everything out the door to him. All right, so let me give you guys a rundown of some of the stuff that is behind me. We're going to do the top row first from this side across, and then we'll do the bottom row. I think most people know some of those books up there, but that is ASM 298, ASM 299, 300, which is triple signed, and then 301 that is directly behind my head. Next to that, ASM 121, The Death of Gwen Stacy, ASM 50, which is double signed. That is the first appearance of Kingpin. And on the very end, which is hidden by the wonderful Comics Today icon up there, is ASM, I think that's 76. No, 70. It's just a regular Kingpin appearance it literally just happened to be in the box. So I grabbed it and I was like, let's celebrate this one and throw it up on the wall. So on the bottom row, starting on that side, we have ASM 18, the first Ned leads. ASM 39, when Norman Osborn is revealed as the Green Goblin. We have ASM 100 over my shoulder. Behind me, a book that has been discussed as of late in some of my videos as a result of the Morbius movie coming out is ASM 101, which is right there. First appearance of Morbius. And then the issues on the very end over there are 3 of the drug issues that were, I guess, not approved by the comic code of comics. So that is ASM 96, 97, and 98. And somebody might ask what the theme is. The theme is clearly Spider-Man, which is my favorite character, right? So we had to celebrate Spider-Man. But some of those books that are up there are also not necessarily books that you might see on the wall, like the drug issues and maybe 100. You don't necessarily see that one all that often. And certainly 70 over there is not necessarily a book that gets put up often. So sometimes it's nice just to air out some of the books that are in your collection to be able to appreciate and celebrate what they are, despite their value or even significance. So there you go. My Spidey, what is that? My Spidey wall for ASM number 1, huh? All right. So I will go to the chat because I do have a couple of minutes here. Oh, one other thing I want to get to. One other thing that I do want to share. My wife sent this to me. So if I don't do this one, I think there's ramifications. I think there's ramifications attached to not doing what the wife has asked. And as soon as I do this, then I will go to the chat for a few minutes and I will look at what it is that you all may have picked up. And again, if you want to shout out your LCSs, feel free to do that as well. So today is a birthday. Today is an important birthday for somebody kind of, sort of related to the channel, Casey Kasem. And some might ask, why are you talking about Casey Kasem? Well, Casey has been a voiceover for a lot of cartoons that many of us probably watched growing up. So much so that I didn't even realize that he had voiced as many characters as he had over the period of time in which he was a voice talent. But I also brought this up. My wife again sent it to me, and her comment was, people oftentimes say you sound like Casey, so you might as well celebrate his birthday. So today we celebrate the life and legacy of what would have been Casey Kasem's 90th birthday. And I did not know this. I did not know that he was born in Detroit, Michigan, which is where I'm from. That was a little tidbit that I didn't know until I read this post. So I just thought that was really cool. But again, Casey was born this day in 1932. So there you go. I wanted to make sure that I took a moment to acknowledge that, and also to make sure that I did not get myself jammed up with the wife. All right. So with that, let me go to the chat real quick. The first one I saw was Alex. It says, picked up the Batman Knight, a really good Dark Knight of Steel as well. I just wish my LCS had more issues of it. There you go. Going to the chat. So if you did pick up some things, let me know. Dave said he picked up Justice League 75, The Death of Justice League. I saw a headline last night, Dave. I saw a headline, and the headline was DC kills off, I think it was Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman. And I was like, what else you got? Like, we're so accustomed to them killing characters off. I'm like, so what else do you have to entice me to read this email that you've sent over to me? I did not click the email. I did not read it. But let me know if you enjoy that. Let me know, because this is one of those ones that people have been talking about for probably the last maybe 3 months that we've known about this issue coming out. Let me know how it is. We do not want to, man, we don't want that kind of trouble. What's funny is I'm working on a video, because I was at the boys' soccer today. I was working on a video, and I actually worked a significant other into a tip that I'll be offering up to you guys in the next couple of weeks. So that video will come out, and you'll remember this is what Regie was talking about. So well, hello Scooby-Doo. There you go. Scrolling through some of the comments here. Mr. Comic, how you doing, brother? It's good to see you. I think you are working on a cover recreation of ASM 129. At least that's what it looked like as I was looking at your Instagram. You picked up 3 covers of ASM 1. That is the reboot of the reboot. Justice League 75, Batman Beyond White Knight, he says, is on his pull. That's what's up. Scrolling through some of the comments here, Squirrel Madness, he would have been 90 indeed, no doubt. Ricky, how you doing? Rochester Hills, that's what's up, man. Detroit, Michigan, born and raised. Also spent a lot of time in Oak Park, Michigan. That's where I went to high school. Have family in Southfield, Ferndale, Farmington Hills, you name it. I have people there, to be honest. What is that? Steve White, the comic book addiction took you, scammed you out of $130 that you willingly gave up because these are probably all on your pull list. You got 17 books, and he did grab the new ASM 1. Looking forward to the Punisher 2 at man, that new Punisher book. And again, they changed the logo. They gave the man swords. We were all like, how is this going to go? Punisher 1, treat yourself. Okay, treat yourself. Punisher 1 was good. I'm looking forward to reading Punisher 2 myself. There you go. Scrolling through, there you go, Tina. Tina's all over. There are some people I know that comments will resonate with, you know. So thank you, Tina. Let me see. Trev said had to grab the Dark Knight of Steel, the 1 in 25 Batman cover, he says, is fire. That's what's up. All right, let me script Mr. E. His copy of JLA Avengers, the George Perez, finally came in. Congrats. Those seem to be really hard to get a hold of for several different reasons, but congrats to you. What is that? Alex says you're a dead ringer for Casey's voice. You can, man, here's the thing. I just need 10% of the work that Casey did as a voice actor. I would be very satisfied with that. I don't need it all. I'll be the backup character. I don't need to be Scooby. I can be, you know, some of the lesser characters, but give me a shot. Give me a shot on goal and I will make the best of it. So with that, I want to make a turn and I want to spend some time talking about the topic at hand, that topic being the isolation. The comic book that Doug and I have been working on with a host of very talented people that can do more than me in terms of, you know, my inability to even draw a straight line. These people are incredibly talented. And over the next little bit here, we're going to introduce the entire creative team. And in an attempt to control the chaos, we're going to stagger introduce people in the order in which folks actually came onto the project. So you'll see little by little who these folks are and how they were involved with this project, essentially from the beginning to the end. And the very first person that I want to introduce is my man, Doug. Doug, it is good to see you, brother. How are you?
I'm doing great, Reggie. Great to see you.
So do you think I have a shot at 10% of Casey Kasem's work?
We're working on it.
Somebody sent me a post a couple of months ago. It was Casey Kasem's microphone. It was up for sale. And I was like, man, that would be amazing to have that. Maybe there's some magic in that microphone, you know? Anyway, I did not buy it. I think it was like $2,000 or something like that. I did not go for it. But Doug, I want to welcome you to the show. This is a day that you and I have been talking about for quite some time, but there may be some people that have not tuned in to the various Instagram posts we've put up, or maybe even the previous live stream in which we spoke about this project. So if you and these people were in an LCS and you were just having a chat between the aisles, right, at the counter, like we all do, right, when we go to the LCS, and you were talking with them about isolation, what would your pitch or appeal to them sound like if you were trying to get them interested in the project?
Well, first I tell them the artwork and the writing are phenomenal. So that would be my first pitch. But if I was just giving them a brief overview, I would let them know that it is an ongoing mystery comic series that has horror, historic, and fantasy elements. And it covers a period of about 120 years of a secretive community and multiple distinct periods of murders. And there is no time travel.
Yeah, we discovered that one last time, that time travel was not an essential part of this story, despite the 120-year duration of the tale that you are attempting to tell. We should probably also tell people that isolation is done. Essentially, isolation is done. Like literally in my hand is issue 1. I read through it essentially from the front to the back today instead of individual pieces. I read it as a book, and I think it was yesterday I read it. I think it was yesterday. And I sent you a message and I was like, I cannot wait for issue 2 because that's legitimately how I feel. This is incredibly well done. And so I am very proud of what we've been able to put together, and I'm proud to get this into people's hands.
I'm excited as well.
As you should be, brother, as you should be. So one of the things, Doug, that we spoke about before, when we talked about, or when we spoke about what we were excited about with this project, one of the things that you made mention of was your excitement around introducing the community to the creative team that is behind this project. Are you still as excited about that today as you were like 3 weeks ago when we spoke about this?
More so. I've been like bursting out of my skin all day. I'm excited for tonight.
So to that point, as I mentioned at the top, we're going to kind of introduce in a staggered approach the different creators that were brought onto this project. Do you want to introduce the very first creator that was brought on to do the pencils? Like, I'm curious how you first met this person. What was it that captured your attention enough to reach out and be like, hey, I have this project, right? Can you talk about that? And then we will welcome this person on to the channel.
Absolutely. First, our incredibly talented lead artist who has done filled lots of different roles in the art related to isolation is Delia Gunderson. Delia is a graduate of the Kubert School, which, for those who aren't familiar with it, the Joe Kubert School of Comic and Graphic Art, or that was its original name, has trained many, many, many professional artists over the past 40 years. And I was very fortunate to grow up near the Kubert School. I took classes there when I was 10 years old that Joe Kubert taught. And I actually met Delia at the Kubert School. I support it. I go visit it for its open houses. It has an LCS attached, Dewey's, which is my local comic shop. And I met Delia last year, or maybe a little bit before that, as a recent grad. And she was working on another project, which I could let her talk about if she would like. And I saw her artwork and it just blew me away. I thought it was amazing. And I thought there are a lot of synergy between her style and the work that she was doing on that and what we wanted to accomplish with isolation.
Yep. And we did. We had a lot of conversations about the style, the approach, who might work. And when I saw her work, I was honestly blown away. But with that introduction, and thank you, Doug, for that, I want to welcome to the show. If it works, I didn't know if it was going to work or not. It does not. There we go. Delia, how are you doing?
Okay, I'm not muted. Cool. I'm good. Hi, how are you?
We have to be thankful to the small things, like, cameras that work and microphones that are not muted when we attempt to speak. So it is good to see you. So let me take that banner.
Didn't work. I am on Twitter right now.
Uh-oh.
Because my camera just decided to stop my computer yesterday.
All good. All good.
Anyway,
I think it's working. I think it's working now. And if it stays a little iffy, we may have to turn off your camera and just go with your voice, because that might be a good way to get through. But let's see. Delia, I am curious. What was it when Doug approached you? What did he say in those early conversations that may have captured your attention enough for you to say, yes, you wanted to get involved with this crazy project of his that spans 120 years?
First of all, I like anything historical. So that in and of itself, 120 years, you can do much fun and architecture and
Hey,
just
Delia,
general
we're gonna ask you to shut off your camera. Let's shut off your camera and let's go
Okay.
with your voice only
Okay.
because I think it may be too much for your connection there. Let's see if that works.
I'm hotspot or internet being for some reason too.
Okay. Technical, you have to
All
enjoy.
right.
You have to
Now we
enjoy
can hear
technical
you.
challenges associated with the live stream. Delia, so the question that I was asking you, and fingers crossed that we give a little bit of washout there, was what was it about those initial conversations with Doug that captured your attention? And what I heard you say was that you enjoy anything that has a historical basis.
Yeah. Anything that's got historical, just general, you know, you can have cool research and things into like costuming and clothing and architecture and pulling from different styles that kind of reflect that. I'm also a huge noir, so because this has that noir vibe, I was really into that. And yeah, I guess, and I'm also a big fan of anything horror, like doing gross stuff.
So for those that may have struggled just a little bit to hear what Delia was saying was that she's a big fan of anything that has historical points of reference. The costuming that is attached to different historical points of reference is something that resonates with her. Noir is something, and horror are also two other elements that attracted her to the project. All of which are throughout what it is that Doug and I have essentially put together. And so I think that it was probably a combination of those wonderful elements that pulled her in. But Delia, to that point, you know, I am honestly curious as I read and went through the, you know, I've seen all of the work from beginning to end, but sitting down yesterday and going from end to end of the book, I was really struck by just the wonderful creativity that was demonstrated, right? And I'm curious, like, where does that creativity come from, right? Is it that you read the script, in this case, Doug's script, and you just let your mind wander, and then you just create these wonderful pictures in your mind that you then pull to the page? Talk with me about that creative process of going from the script, if you will, that Doug puts together to pages that look the way that these do.
um Something interesting about my brain is that I don't visualize things as per se. If you were to say, imagine an apple, like see an apple, now what does it look like, what color is it, whatever, I don't really see anything when people say that. So a lot of the way that I process things is looking up, you know, a lot of research of costuming and buildings and cities, and then just kind of like architecturally crafting these scenes from research. And a lot of it, because of that, is with a sort of graphic design teaching and everything. Like, I know, you know, the elements where to put to draw attention, and sort of like let's say you get a Lego set, but you don't have instructions, and then you just kind of like things together, it pops up. Does that make sense?
It does make sense.
So
I mean,
and a lot
Doug
of it
is not.
also
Doug
was
is nodding his head. So as a creator, as a artist himself, I think it makes perfect sense to him. When you said Lego, I immediately thought of something I joked about the other day. I call Legos the work of the devil, because as a parent, when you step on them, it is extremely painful. But I think that answer was very helpful, and I want to give Doug an opportunity here to kind of jump in to see whether he has a question or a comment that he'd like to make about, you know, working with you and about your artistic style that you brought to the project.
Yeah, I'd like to add that one of the things that I loved working with Delia is how collaborative and communicative she was. Like, when I sent her the script, it wasn't like, okay, thanks, and then here are the pages. You know, Delia, during the process of doing thumbnails, would reach out and say, hey, on this page, you have 4 panels. I think I could make this work better as a 3-panel page, and here's why and how. And every time she did that, I was like, oh yeah, that's a great idea, because she could think more visually with it. You know, I sometimes was thinking in terms of beats as a writer, and sometimes she's thinking more visually and graphically. And I think that back and forth and willingness to ask questions and give suggestions was wonderful, and I really enjoyed it. And I think when people see the comic and read the comic, they'll get that sense.
Yep. So for those folks that are coming in a little late, we are sitting down with the creative team that is behind the comic that Doug and I have been working on, called Isolation. And we are having some technical issues, but we are trying to work through those things as best we can. But Delia, to that point, what was it like working with Doug? Was it easy for you to follow the vision that he was trying to provide you in the script that he put together? And what were those discussions like as you thought through what he wanted and then thought that there could be a better way to tell the story visually? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. Honestly, a lot of it clicked really well when I read the script the first time through. Doug had an amazing idea of what fits the page anyway. A lot of the times a writer, sometimes who has less experience, or very wordy, and you kind of have to, this won't fit, or there's actions in this one panel. You know, a single character can't be doing 2 or 3 things at a time in one image, you know. But yes, it's writes, and also read comics for a long time. So he did the Kubert School like Saturdays, right, I think, and stuff like that. So the idea, okay, this is what works, this is what fits, and the pacing was really good. And so, you know, he says that there were multiple pages. There were a few pages that we really needed to, you know, change up. He doesn't have enough credit, but you know, the characters and everything really came off the page. You know, we sat down, we did some character design early on, which was super helpful for, you know, the more important characters. And I think, yeah, you know, we were both kind of on, he saw some of my previous work too. So I think that I would be on the same page as him and vice versa, if that makes sense.
And I mean, I'll be honest with you, I'm very impressed with the synergy that you all developed relatively quickly in the process, right? I don't know that people maybe gel, at least that's my impression, gel as well as you all did and as quickly. And so I'm very thrilled about how quickly it worked. I didn't have to involve myself as much, which was really nice. You know, it was like, Doug, hey, get this done. And Doug was like, hey, here's a page. I'm like, this is gorgeous. But no, it's really cool to see the give and take that goes on between a writer and an artist, and, you know, being able to bring this stuff to life. But Delia, I know that you didn't necessarily work on this project by yourself. And it appears that one of our creators is unable to join us tonight, but I wanted to ask you to speak a little bit about the next person that you brought on and the role that she played in helping you to ultimately bring this stuff to life. Can you talk a little bit about, you know, what you did and what she did and how that worked really well?
Sure. So originally, we had talked about me doing the pages, all just me. And then with the deadline that we wanted to meet, it felt like it would be easier to kind of do like a tag team kind of thing. So I asked one of my previous classmates, graduated with me. Her name is Elena Morton. And unfortunately, she couldn't make it. She had work obligations. But basically what I pulled her in for was when, after I completed the layouts for every page with the, basically the basic storytelling and pacing and the basic designs of where I wanted things to be and characters and stuff like that and panels. And then she took those and then she, polished them up. So, you know, in normal comics, when you normally have like a pencil, she was kind of between a really like tight layout stage and a really rough pencil stage. So that when I got the pages from her, it was like exact, like what's the word I'm looking for? Perspective lines and things that I could build the architecture and everything from. And that cut out a decent amount of time for me.
Yep.
To where I could just like paint from there. And so she helped me out so much.
Yep.
I wish she could have been here.
Same here. But I mean, for those folks that
person.
For those folks that are joining us a little late, we are sitting down with the creative team and we are talking about the process that went into the creation of Isolation. And Elena was unable to join us, but she played a really important role in speeding up the process and putting Delia in a position to be able to get the work done faster, maybe than if Delia had to do the layouts to the finished pencils to the inks all herself. And so it was a critical role. And I remember the conversations with Doug where Doug was like, okay, here, we think we have a slightly different approach. And I'm like, does it get me a pretty page at the end? Let's do it, you know? But Doug, can you talk a little bit about your thought process of not just really working with one creative person, but technically two that were doing the artwork for you? Can you talk about maybe how that experience was maybe a little different from maybe what we had initially started with and why we made that pivot? And I'm guessing I'm asking you to layer on to what I just said a few moments ago.
Sure. I'll say it affected me a lot less than Delia. Delia was my main, point of contact with the art, and Delia worked a lot with Elena. We did connect at the beginning, as a team to go over the roles to make sure that was clear. I can say from afar, what I really appreciated is it seemed like Elena was always willing to jump in and help out with whatever Delia needed, which I appreciated. And then, we'll get to the last member of the team who I also worked more closely with because it involves the written word. So.
Yeah. And to that point, I do want to go ahead and introduce our last creator here. And what I will say to you is that as great as a script is, as great as pictures are, a comic is not complete without some actual words for people to be able to read. And so to that point, I want to introduce Beth. And Beth is actually coming to us from England. She's in England. I don't know what time it is there, but Beth, thank you for joining us at whatever hour it is there.
No problem, Reggie. Yeah, it's about getting really close to 1 a.m. now. So everyone is asleep. I'm in my grandparents' house up north in Newcastle. And so I will apologize if you hear any stomping from the ceiling or if the Wi-Fi cuts out. I do have some old people here that I've been taking care of.
Here's the wonderful thing. With that accent, it doesn't matter what you say. Everybody enjoys it. Like, as soon as I hear that accent, I'm like, man, I need an accent. Like, could you imagine a Casey Kasem with an English accent? That would be dope. That would be a dope thing.
It's definitely gotten me out of a few parking tickets in my time. I have to say. It's a great one to pull out when you're in a bit of trouble.
Yeah, I did not expect that response from you, but thank you very much for that. Beth, I'm curious, as you received from Elena and ultimately from Delia, the finished artwork, what first went through your mind? Did you say, oh, wow, like I did, these pages are dope? You probably didn't say dope, but did you think, oh, wow, these are some great pages? Or did you immediately go to work thinking about where am I going to put the words? Where am I going to put the bubbles? Where am I going to put that? Talk with me about what your initial impression was.
It's a bit of a balance, if I'm being honest. As a letterer, you know, I tend to go into that sort of pessimistic, oh no, you know, where am I going to put these letters? Is it too tight? Is it, you know, too complicated? Are there too many balloons on each page? You know, has someone screwed me over here? But in general, you know, I really do love what I do, and it's such a privilege to be able to see this amazing artwork and the finished scripts before anyone really sees what it could look like all together as one piece of a finished comic. So I try and take at least, you know, a few minutes before I go into panic mode to really appreciate.
That's well said. And again, I ask these questions and I never know what people are going to say, you know, so I didn't know that you were going to go down that path, but I enjoyed it. But one of the things that I will say to you, and again, as I look at this comic, right, I actually had to put some extra pages on the back here so people could see what was on the back. But as I looked at the comic, I felt like there was an artistry to your use of balloons. And I don't know that I would have thought that if I had not been part of the process, from the layouts to the pencils to you doing the letters. But do you feel like an artist when you're using your text bubbles and where you're positioning them? Is that something that goes through your mind, the artistry of it?
I think the thing that I keep in mind, you know, rule number one is legibility. It has to be legible. And if that means that I have to sacrifice the sort of creative, artistic, this would look really cool and you know, dope, as you say, with the artwork going in this direction, but it's going to be a little tricky to read, I do have to sort of go into a more technical, you know, route in many ways. So it's a balance, and you know, sometimes I am fortunate enough to get to really flex that artistic muscle and be creative when it comes to lettering. But above all, it has to be legible, because at the end of the day, the project has to be received by a market that hasn't read the script as a script. Right. All they're seeing is the finished product, and I feel that we get so invested and so involved in the individual pieces that sometimes when putting it together, we can forget that someone reading this hasn't seen any of it yet. We know,
or hasn't read the long form script that was written, that went into this. You know, I'm curious again, as I was reading it, again, getting back to that artistry point, it seemed as if like the way you were positioning the word bubbles on the page was almost guiding the reader through the page itself with the way that you were kind of positioning them. And again, is that part of, you spoke about legibility, but is storytelling and direction also part of what goes into where you put bubbles, or if you break it into two bubbles and you wrap it around something, is that part of it as well?
Absolutely. It absolutely is. When I was going to the Cubit School, I had many wonderful teachers helping us through with storytelling. And there are some really fantastic techniques that you can use in all stages of making comics: inking, penciling, lettering, that give the reader a feeling instead of just, you know, that's the word there and that's what it's saying. I know that we're using certain balloons that are whisper balloons. So if a character is speaking and they're really timid or they're frightened, you know, having that really small text in a really large balloon gives you the feeling of, you know, it's being dwarfed by the size of that balloon, and that can help to convey the emotion coming from the character a bit better. So absolutely, yes, it does.
Delia, I'm curious from your perspective, as you were doing the layouts, passing them over to Elena, getting the layouts back and her work, and then you layering onto it. Throughout that process, were you thinking about Beth? Because you all know each other, right? I mean, Delia, you basically, with help from us and maybe with some urging, assembled this wonderful team from the Kubert School. It's just amazing, like the only one that didn't go. But when you were doing all of your work, were you thinking about Beth and what she would ultimately have to do with these pages? Or were you just like, I'm gonna make the most beautiful page I can possibly make? Like, talk with me about that.
No, never. I'm never thinking about Beth ever. No, of course. As that was part of what we worked on in the school too, was where your bleed lines, where's your safety, for people who don't do printing, bleed is where the pages get cut when they get put into a book. Safety is like the furthest out you can put your letters before they're unreadable and get hidden in the binding. So when we go in and design these pages, we have to think about all of that. You can't have a panel that is just full of things and not expect anything to get covered up.
Yep.
And so I tried my best in some situations to give Beth creative ability to bleed out of the panel a little bit, give her some space, in the gutters and, things like big gutters, not the tiny little ones, and kind of allow her to, I don't know, kind of flow with it too,
And there was definitely a flow. I mean, again, as I read through the comic, you could feel the balloons kind of sort of guiding you along with the layouts that you put together, where it wasn't just these boxes. I mean, there was guidance that is being provided by the artwork itself. Doug, how thankful are you that you were able to assemble a team that essentially all knew each other from the same school, that were basically trained the same way that you were? Like, how thankful are you for that?
Very. And I will say, Elena, Beth, and Delia did the intensive, like 3-year degree. I took a few Saturday classes and things like that. So I don't want to, while I consider the Kubert School kind of like my childhood home, I don't want to give an impression that I put in near the work that these 3 wonderful other creators did with the Kubert School. But and I think one of the great things about the Kubert School is that not only did it help me find Delia and her talents, but because of it, the networking is tremendous. And Delia right away could say like, oh yeah, I know the letter we need to get. Oh yeah, I know the artist assistant that I want to tap into, which is fantastic. And the level of trust there, not only from Delia, who has to rely on Elena and Beth, but in us, it's, we're meeting Elena and Beth and you, Regie, Delia, for the first time, but we know they have a level of skill and professionalism because of the kind of boot camp they've gone through at the Kubert School. So,
and I can tell you, Delia is very much the networker. I've tapped into her several times to help me to find different creators, and I'm thankful for Dewey's, which is adjacent to the Kubert School, because again, I've been able to tap into this. But Beth, I know that it's getting late there. I want to ask you one more question, and then I will allow you to depart, because there's probably other things that you want to do with your early morning, late evening. I don't know what you want to call it. But when you receive the script from Doug, right, the actual words, what went through your mind? Like, we heard from Delia that she had a little bit of pushback on a couple of pages with Doug to basically say, hey, this might look better this way. When you received your script, did you literally just take his words and pour his words into the page, or did you also make some adjustments, suggestions, and refinement? Because I know you two work closely together, but I don't know all the details. So can you enlighten us on that?
Yeah. So when I receive a script, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at, the volume of words on that script. Sometimes you'll get a script with way too many balloons in really small panels, and you have to sort of figure out, is this writer someone who I can open up and say, hey, listen, I know you want to explain this, but it's just not going to work out. And luckily, Doug was very open right off the bat and said, if you have any kind of constructive criticism, if anything needs to change, please don't hesitate to reach out and talk to me. So we kept a very, very open line of communication. I was looking at different sound effects and things like that. We had font choices that we went through together. We spent time on meetings. I showed him different fonts, going through, making sure we get the right feel for the project. It was very, very hands-on, and I do want to express that that is a rarity as a letterer, to find not only a writer but a team of people who are so gung-ho and so willing to include me as a letterer in all aspects of the comic book. So yes, I definitely look at a lot of different things when I get that script, and I also try and read through it and try and get a sense of what the writer is trying to convey. And having open communication with Doug was just paramount in allowing me to get the feel for the script and to really understand exactly what the flow needed to be and the direction that we were going.
We had a commitment from that very first call that we had, where we were like, hey, we don't know what we're doing. We don't know what we're doing, but we want to figure it out. We want guidance. We want input. We have a vision. We have a plan, but we need some assistance. And it's all a two-way street, you know? And so I'm very excited that we've been able to wrap this up, and I want to allow Doug to make a comment because I saw his lip quiver. So Doug, please.
Thanks. I just wanted to add in a bonus with Beth, is that while the vast majority of the story of Isolation takes place in the southeastern United States, a quarter of it takes place in London. And because Beth came on, I could say, hey, like, correct the language as it would be spoken by someone from England versus my American interpretation of that. So Beth deserves a little bit of the across the pond editor as well
for introducing that authenticity.
Yes.
So not only is she a skilled letterer, right, and super polite and pleasant to listen to, but then she's also an experienced linguistist. I don't know. I may have jacked that up, but whatever. You know what I mean, people. But what I do want to do is I want to give people a first look at a page from Isolation. But Beth, there are no words on this page. There's no words. We stripped all the words down. And again, I know that it's late there, so I will say thank you very much for making yourself available to join us. I'm going to put a link in the description to your Instagram page so that folks can follow you. But I am very excited to get started here, hopefully soon, maybe on issue 2. Doug, maybe we can make that magic happen because things seem to be going well for issue 1. So maybe we'll do issue 2. But Beth, any parting thoughts that you want to leave us with, and Delia, anything you want to say to Beth before we let her go? So first, Beth, we'll go to you.
Well, I just wanted to say thank you for including me in this very special live stream. I'm very excited to see the project moving forward. I think we've got a fantastic team here. And I know that, you know, we're continuing to figure out exactly how to get into that flow and to start really pumping these issues out. And I hope that everyone enjoys the story. I've definitely enjoyed working on it, and I really can't wait for people to see it.
You sound like Doug with pumping out these issues. He keeps reminding me there's 36 of them. And I'm like,
Yeah.
Doug, can we finish one? But Delia, any parting thoughts for your teammate, Beth, before we let her go?
Yes, you're awesome, Beth. Thank you very much.
All right, Beth.
Thank you for putting up with me and my making sure everything's getting done on time. And you're awesome. You did a great job.
No problem, Delia. It's been a pleasure.
We'll talk soon, Beth. Thank you.
Great. Thanks,
Good
Regie.
to see you, Beth.
Hi, Beth.
And I did not cut her off. How about that? All right. So we will keep this thing. We will keep this thing moving. And the last thing that we wanted to do is to actually share a page from Isolation. Doug, do you want to tell people what this is first, or do you want me to show it and then you describe what it is? Like, how do you want to play this part of it?
I won't describe that. I want them to see the image, but what I will say is it's one of my, I mean, there are so many beautiful pages, but this was one of my first favorite pages right from the beginning. And it's taken from the opening scene where there are some uniformed officers going into an apartment at night looking for someone or something. And I'll leave it cryptically at that.
That was well done. So cryptic. I mean, you said a lot, but you didn't say a lot. It was well done. You sounded like me there. All right, so here's the page. Here is the page. I do believe that this is page 5 from Isolation. And Doug, what people will immediately notice here is that this is in black and white. Do you want to talk about why we decided to go with a black and white comic? Do you want to talk about that? I don't know the reason, so I'm punting to you on that one.
Sure. So the practical reasons are time and money. This is our first time doing this, and paying, a colorist, paying for color printing, all of that, was part of it. But I also feel that Delia's art, because she basically paints in an ink wash, that her art style also lends itself to a beautiful black and white art that gives that noir vibe, and also in other parts of the book, as Delia, I think, coined the phrase, kind of a Sleepy Hollow vibe as well. So I think eventually, when we have the trades out, and they're in color, they'll look amazing. But I think this is going to be an incredibly beautiful black and white book. And it also goes to the roots of independent comics, that most independent comics, when they first started, were often black and white. So.
And we are very much an independent comic, right? All self-funded. But again, I think it turned out really, really wonderful. Delia, I want to go to you. And what I'll say to you is that in the early work that Doug showed me, what I immediately noticed is that your previous work was all incredibly beautifully well done, but it was also extremely detailed. And when I saw this page, and when I went through the book again, I saw individual pages, but again, when it was all together, it was a different thing. The level of detail is amazing. Can you talk a little bit about how much time you spend on these, pages to bring them to life? I mean, there are butterfly shadow boxes back there and individual books on the shelf. There's a ton of books and scrolls. Talk with us about how much time you spend on this stuff.
Well, it depends on the page, but this page took me 3 days, I think. So yeah, these pages, they can go anywhere from 10 hours to 20 hours of work on a page. I try to aim for 3 to 4 pages a week. It doesn't always happen, So, but yeah, they because of the nature of ink wash, it's a lot of layers and a lot of waiting. And so kind of go in a rotation. I'll work on one page, and while that one's drying, I'll work on the next page, and then while that one's drying, I go back to the first page, and yeah, they take a while.
Wow.
It takes a long while. Yeah.
It's impressive. It really is. I mean, these are just incredibly well done. And I mean, I'll be honest, I don't quite know what an ink wash is. I'll pretend like I do. It sounds very fancy. But at the end of the day, it's beautiful. I mean, the detail, it really is beautiful. I mean, you have a black and white image of a guy shining a flashlight into a closet, and there's so much detail in there, and it's just black and white, and I mean shades of gray in between, but it's incredibly well done. So for those people that are just joining us, we are talking with the creators behind the comic known as Isolation that will be coming in July. Doug and I have been working on this, and Delia is the lead artist describing this single page here from the project. And what I just heard her say, she spent about 3 days working on this and attempts to get about 3 pages done per week, but incredibly detailed artwork here. One other thing that I will say is that Delia will be making these pages available for sale after the project is released. The ones that Doug and I don't buy will be available to the public. Do not ask Delia now, because her answer will be no. After the issue comes out, a lot of this stuff will be available to you. And I can tell you that this one is already spoken for, and it wasn't me that spoke for it. We did rock, paper, scissors, and I did not win. I did not win. Go ahead,
If
Doug.
I could just,
It hurt me to let this one
I
go.
bet. Did you see that library? As soon as I saw that library, I was like, oh, that's dope. I want this one. And then I was like, Doug, I think you should pick first. It backfired. It really did. My kindness was taken. It was just taken advantage of.
I totally did that. I'll admit that. I did want to say that there is not a filler page in the bunch. This issue is 28 pages. Every one is a work of art. Before it gets out there, I'm sure Regie and I will have both purchased a few, but there's going to be several left, I'm sure, when this comes out. And I would encourage anybody who's part of the community. You now know Delia. If you don't know her Instagram, you will soon. If you want a page, I would say the day it comes out, shoot her a message, because every page is beautiful. They are going to go very fast. I already told Delia, like, you need to pick at least one page to keep for yourself, because you're not going to have these for more than like a week after this thing comes out, because they're all beautiful.
That's my hope, because this is another way of being able to support the artists that are behind these projects. Like everybody was paid. All creators were paid, right? Let's be clear about that. But by buying the original art, it's just another way to support incredibly talented artists, and it also makes them want to work with us more. So fingers crossed that Delia and the team will stay together and we'll be able to do issue number 2, because I'll be honest with you, after I read issue number 1, I was blown away, and I was like, Doug, let's do issue 2. Let's make this magic happen. So as of right now, I will tell you guys that there is a new page up on my website, regiecollects.com, dedicated to isolation. There isn't a ton of information there. Let's be super clear. There's not a ton of information. I will hopefully build the page out over time. But the page is on the website with some information. If you are associated with an LCS that you think might be interested in carrying isolation when it comes out, I encourage you to have them reach out to me, or you reach out to me, give me their information, and I will send them a communication with all the details on when they can actually place an order. And we have had at least one LCS just today place an order for 70 copies of isolation. We're going to have multiple covers that are available. Delia is actually going to do 2 of the covers for us, and then we have a few other artists out there. And one of the things that we will be doing, which is different than before, is that if you are interested, you will be able to pick your individual covers, unlike before where you picked a slot, if you will, and you randomly received a book. This time you will have an ability to pick different art if that is what you want. And I think we're going to have some really awesome cover art. We also have a couple of exclusives that are in the works as well. So if you know somebody that might be interested in an exclusive, have them reach out to me and we will make that magic happen. All right. Delia, before we let you go, any comments or thoughts that you want to leave the people with regarding this project, or about yourself, or any negative stuff you want to say about Doug? I'm sure his brother Dave welcomes that.
No. You guys are both great to work with. You've been very communicative, and everything's been, honestly, this has been a pleasure to work on. For as much time as I've put into it too, it's like, that just makes it even better. So, and I've been seeing some of the comments that you guys are posting, and I try not to tear up, you guys. Thank you. But I'm really excited. I'm really excited to see it in print. I'm really excited to see it in stores. I'm a little overwhelmed, honestly. But thank you guys. I just want to thank you guys for the opportunity to work on this. And like, I'm so excited, and I'm excited for issue 2, and I'm excited for these covers. So yeah, thanks for bringing me on to this project.
It has been our pleasure, Delia, no doubt about it. Doug, any parting thoughts from you before I let you go as well?
No, just, this is so much fun. I've been waiting for this night. I've been waiting for people to see the wonderful artwork and to meet Delia and Beth, and someday they will meet Elena too, I'm sure. So thank you, Regie.
Oh, it's my pleasure, man. I mean, again, you two are great to work with. This project has been a lot of fun. It's been an incredible learning experience for me, you know, and it's like if I had I never anticipated that I would be working on an actual comic and that we would have done what we've done in as short a time as we've done it. It's exciting. It's exciting to see it, and it's going to be really awesome when people actually get this in their hands and start to give us feedback, because fingers crossed they will enjoy it as much as we have enjoyed it, you know, reading it and working on it. So Doug, thank you very much. Delia, I appreciate you, and I will speak to both of you tomorrow at 10 for our conference call as we continue to plan our takeover of the comic book world. I'll see you guys
Take
later.
care.
That's great. Thank you. Bye.
All right. And I did not cut anybody off. So again, for those folks that are joining a little bit late, we just spent some time talking about Isolation issue #1 and meeting the creative team that is producing this wonderful artwork that you see here on screen. And Doug kind of let the cat out of the bag. One of the things that we have already brainstormed is, do we do at some point a collected work in which we apply color to this amazing artwork that has been created? That is something that we are hoping to be able to get to. And so much of that will depend upon the success, not just of issue 1, but of the subsequent issues. And that success is dependent upon our ability to tell you a good story and to provide you with really good artwork. So fingers crossed that at some point we will be able to bring on one of the colorists that I have met through Delia that can apply some amazing color to some of this artwork. But as I mentioned, we are on track. The issue is essentially done. It has been all drawn, all painted. It has been proofread. We are making last minute tweaks to some of the wording on the pages, and then we are essentially in the production phase, right? And so I am very excited to actually have some prints of this thing. There is a chance that some folks out there may also be recipients of some ash cans that we are thinking about producing. We have so many ideas, and the question will become how many of these things we will be able to bring to life. I actually had a wonderful idea for a cover that I plan to talk with Doug and Delia about tomorrow, possibly for issue 2. I don't think we'll be able to do it for issue 1, but possibly for issue 2. But this has been an amazing project to work on. I want to thank all of you out there that watch the live stream, that are listening to this thing back on the podcast, and thank everyone for their support of this project as we roll this thing out. And again, we are targeting releasing this book in July, and my hope is that we can actually start some pre-sales maybe in the June time frame, if not a little bit earlier. We still have some things to do, and I want to get things finalized before we start to take anyone's money. So stay tuned to the channel, and also to Regie Collects, specifically the Isolation page on the website. With that said, if you need to reach out to me, feel free to do so on Instagram at Regie Collects. Take care.